So right, when I was 20, I was a fairly average kind of 20-year-old guy, going to the pubs with my friends and all that type of thing. And it was the summer of 2005, and I started to get very tired during the summer, and I woke up one morning with a splitting headache, and so we rung up A&E because it was a headache of. I never had a headache like this before. I was with my friends. We were out in Ipswich, and all of a sudden I get the phone call from my parents. They're trying to get in touch with me. Where are you? What are you doing? And I wasn't really very receptive to this, but the phone kept on ringing and ringing and ringing. Ultimately, what happened was they were trying to get hold of me to tell me that I had been diagnosed with leukemia. For me, that was it. I didn't really look back from there on in, because it was, you have to look forwards in a situation like that. It's not the end of the world. And when I went up to Somersham ward, I was the youngest person on the ward, because I was in an adult ward, so the average age must have been 60 plus, really. I was 20 years old, and someone told me that I had cancer, and I didn't really understand it. I didn't know what it was, really. I didn't have a clue what leukemia was. I literally think, what the hell is that? No, I didn't. I just did not know. And really, all those years ago, 7 years ago, people related cancer, or 8 years ago, sorry, people related cancer to death. I mean, it was just a common. If you've got cancer, that's it. Your chances are quite slim. And well, that's how I was always brought up with it all, and that's what I saw on the media and the news and so on and so forth. But when I was there in Somersham ward, looking at all the other patients in there, much older ones, a lot of them were dying off very quickly. But what I took from all of that was that they would have goals. Some of these folk would have goals, and it may be something very simple to me. For example, seeing their grandkid's first birthday, or they'd set a date in their head that they wanted to achieve, and they had ultimately they focused themselves. They got a goal, and they were damn right they were going to stick to it. And 2 weeks down the line, if it was someone's birthday, this birthday would come, and then afterwards they would give up. And so that got me thinking. And then you'd look at the other type of people as well, or the other type of person that would be in the ward. They would maybe not have a family around them. They wouldn't really have much, and they wouldn't have a goal. They didn't feel as although they had a goal, and those people would give up quite quickly. And as soon as you give up, you're as good as dead. And they're the people that would die very quickly. So it was interesting watching people that didn't have a goal that died very quickly, and it was also interesting watching people that had their goal, achieved their goal, and then died because they didn't have another focus afterwards. And I was looking at this and thinking, well, bloody hell, this is the crux of it, really. The crux of all of this is having a goal, having a vision, a focus, something to achieve, to get you through these hard times. Because it is very easy to give up when you're in a position when you're that ill. So here we are. We're back here at Levington Marina, or Suffolk Yacht Harbour, in the lightship, and this is where I met my donor, Matt Hall, for the very first time, just out there on the pathway. Right, so I turn up in hospital Saturday morning, and over the next 2 weeks I'm going through all the rigmarole of blood tests and all these tests and needles, and Christ, oh God almighty, it was horrendous. The thought of having all these needles going in me left, right and centre was quite, it was interesting, to say the least. So what they ended up doing, they said, Ollie, it looks like you've got a form of ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And I can remember the doctor saying, well, actually, this is quite a good thing. If you're going to have a leukemia, this is probably one of the better ones. What you don't want is AML. And a couple of months on this treatment, and we were, things were going very well. I remember the doctors then came back in and said, right, Ollie, we've got a bit of bad news. The leukemia's gone from this ALL to AML. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, guys, you've just been telling me for the past couple of months that this is what I don't want to get. So now what are we going to do about all this? And they said, right, well, we're going to start you on that treatment, and we're going to continue with the treatment you're on. And everything was going fairly smoothly, really. A couple of months down the line again, there we were. The doctors come in and they said, right, Ollie, we've got another small problem here. I remember this quite well. They said, Ollie, we don't actually know what you've got in terms of this leukemia. It's some kind of like alien form of leukemia. There's got a mutation growing on here. So I was like, brilliant, this is wonderful. Sounds, fantastic. And ultimately what the doctors turned around and said was, the other two are dead. You're the only known person in the world to have this type of leukemia alive at the moment. Before then, there was always a goal. There was always a chance that this is going to work. And for me then, my feelings were, crikey, well, if the other two are dead, what chances have I got? And it was, that was a really scary time for me, to be honest with you. But nevertheless, you crack on with these things, don't you? So I looked at everything and said, right, well, I need to get myself a goal. They said the only chance you've got really is a bone marrow transplant. I set out with this idea then of, I'm going to get this goal, and I needed something big to focus my mind on to pull me through this next step. And I chose a little sailing boat, but I'd never rebuilt a boat. And I thought, well, let's go for that. That'll be good fun. We'll get that cracking. So I went off and bought this thing. And really, during all this time, it was just a scrap. It was a scrap boat that wouldn't float. I took it home, and I said, here, Dad, look what I've just bought. And he said, okay, let's get the scraper out and have a quick look at this. He started scratching it and have a look at it, and I thought, Ollie, you've just bought the biggest load of toot in the planet. It's literally fit for the bin. You'd see all these little holes all over it. He said, that's osmosis. In other words, fiberglass cancer. So you've just gone and bought a boat that's got cancer. During this time, we were trying to find a donor. There were no known matches. The NHS couldn't find a match. So we went to the Anthony Nolan Trust, which then done a big worldwide search for us. And they came up with 2 possible matches, one in America and one in the UK. The guy in America was a 7 out of 10 match, and the guy in the UK was an 8 out of 10. But there were complications with them both. And we chose the guy from the UK because he had the same blood group. Well, he had the strongest match, but he had a virus called CMV, and I was CMV negative. So this was going to cause a lot of problems during my transplant, because ultimately when I had no immune system, they were going to chuck a big old virus in there. What I didn't quite think about, it came to be, I had this mentality that I was going to be absolutely fine. There was going to be no problems. I wasn't going to get tired, and I was going to be as fit as a fiddle throughout the whole entire treatment. And of course it didn't really work out like that. I didn't realise how ill I was going to be. So I couldn't really rebuild this boat. So I brought this project, and I didn't have the physical strength to be able to do it. So my father and a friend of mine started rebuilding the hull of the boat. So what happened was that over the 8 weeks I was in, 8 or 9 weeks I was in hospital, my father and my friend started to rebuild the hull of the boat. And what they would do every day, whilst I was having my radiotherapy, they were there working on the boat, filming it, and then in the evening time, he'd put all that on a computer, drive it up to Addenbrooke's. I would then watch it through the night because I couldn't sleep. And it was fantastic. It was brilliant. It really was. It kept everyone spurred on, because everyone had then a target, a goal to get the boat ready or the hull ready for when I came out of hospital. And I did. And it was fantastic. We went through the whole treatment, and then they managed to put the last lick of paint on the hull a day before I was due out of hospital. So I managed to come along and take ultimately unwrapped it, and of course when I'd done it I was like, bloody hell, this is superb. I'd survived it, I'd beat it, I walked out of hospital. That got me thinking, on how on earth do I try and tell my story, my experience of the whole situation? And it went straight back to the little sailing boat. What can I do with this little sailing boat to make a lot of noise, to tell people? How do I start this? How do I do it? What on earth do I do? And I met a guy up in Scotland, in Stonehaven, called Hamish MacDonald, and I said, God, I would love to sail around Britain. And he ultimately turned around and said, why don't you do it? And I said, well, don't be silly, I mean, crikey, it's a long way to go in a little boat like that. And he said, no, if you want to do it, do it. It's like this dream then it just happened, because I really wanted to give something back, and that boat done it for me, and I knew I had to use that and go and tell that story on that boat. And the only way I could think of doing that successfully was to go and sail it around Britain. So I packed work up and I thought, right, I'm going to do this 100%, it's going to work. If I say I'm going to do something, you're damn right it's going to happen.
This morning at the historic St Catherine's Dock in central London, Ollie Rofix was counting down the minutes to the start of an 8-month journey which he knows will test his stamina to the limit. More than 2,000 miles in a boat which was once a wreck. It's called Jolly Ollie. It's just 18 feet long.
Ollie Rofix from Clopton near Woodbridge. After 7 months away, he was back.
Ollie was diagnosed with leukemia in 2005.
He had a bone marrow transplant the following year, and if all that wasn't enough, he's just completed a solo voyage around Britain.
He feels lucky to be alive. He remains fiercely determined. He is a true inspiration.
I succeeded in my goal. You know, I'd put the past behind me, I'm moving on to the future. I'd got back to London, I'd finished it, I'd done it. How do I get others involved? How do I keep the interest going? How do I keep building on this? And really that's what I'm now working at into the future, is how do I keep Oliver's Travels going and keep the interest going? Because ideally in the future, long term, is that I would like to get other people involved in challenges. I'm trying to work towards an organisation where people like me, who was in the position I was in a few years ago, can come forward and say, I want to do this, how do I achieve it? Can you give me some guidance, some help, some support? Because I didn't have any. The whole project so far has been all done by me, putting myself out there, and it's been very hard. And through the people I've met, I want to just carry it on, and then as it becomes bigger and bigger, to get more and more people involved in it, and helping others achieve their goals.